Hello, it is Dr. Askrystalracquel and I am back again with part 2 of the video I mentioned I would be doing for you all. I did have to stop the video earlier. Right now, thankfully my husband's home with the baby, so he's taking care of our precious little one, so I wanted to go back into the video that I mentioned before. So this is part 2 of what are some things that women should not reveal when they are dating. So in the last video that was cut short, that was just shy of 5 minutes, I let you all know that one of the things you need to be careful of is your career, talking in depth about what you do, especially if you have a high level position. The last thing I mentioned was that when I was trying to get to know people, there was a gentleman who asked what I did, and at the time I was in a somewhat human resources role, and I mentioned that I worked in customer service, just knowing that that's a low paying job, and you never want to be fully really dishonest or anything like that. So you can use customer service for a wide range of careers. In addition, you don't have to be super specific. So if you're a nurse, physician, you're working in a really good role in healthcare, just say you work in healthcare. You know, he may not ask and try to pry, but that can definitely help you out, right? So try to be a little bit vague with your career options. And yes, it is different for women versus men, because I'm assuming those who are watching this video are looking for a man who's going to provide. My advice that I give is based in biblical principles, and that being said, the man is the provider, and that's not to say women can't work or anything like that, but the man is the main provider, protector, and it's going to be very important that a man is not looking for your career to determine whether or not he wants you. Of course, if it's something like, let's say you're, this is no offense to anybody who does these careers, but if you're a Christian man, you likely would not be looking for a woman who is working in nightlife, and that could be a wide range of things. So those sorts of things, sure, if he doesn't want to work with someone like that, or have a relationship with someone like that. But for the most part, you saying, oh, I work in healthcare, I really love my job, I have a lot of different clients, that should be enough. Most men are not going to keep prying, especially if you've already it seems like you're giving details, even though it's not super detailed. He's going to believe it's detailed. And no, this is not a way to trick men or anything like that. But yeah, go back and watch video 1 if you want a little bit more information about the type of things you shouldn't be saying in terms of your job. I feel like I just covered it again anyway. But another thing you don't want to reveal when you're dating is you don't want to go into details about any past relationships. Even if you had... hopefully you don't have baby crying. My husband's with the baby, as I mentioned, but you don't want to go in depth about any past relationships that you've had. In general, if I was getting to know someone, they asked about my past relationships, I said things along the lines of, oh yeah, it just wasn't a good fit. Or if it was something specific, I believe that person wasn't a good fit, but I wish them really well. You never want to be super negative about anyone in your past, because it speaks to your character, and also you don't want to give the impression that you're really unhealed, because when you start talking really negative about somebody from your past, rather than using it as a lesson and an experience that helped you grow, if you're just speaking negatively, that speaks to maybe the fact that you haven't fully healed from that past relationship, and that's not what we want, right? We want to portray ourselves well, and of course you definitely should be healed before you start dating. So if you find yourself specifically wanting to talk negatively about your past and exes, rather than just using it as like, all right, that's over, I wish him really well, it just wasn't a good fit. And if he starts prying, have a reason, right? So if he starts prying and say, well, it wasn't a good fit, why? You can say, oh, well, it turned out that our religious beliefs were a little bit different. Initially he said he was Christian and stuff, but some of our beliefs just didn't line up. That's something like that. This is an example. And then, of course, you also don't want to start going into detail about things like whether it didn't work because he cheated on you, or whether it didn't work because he was abused. I don't think I said it. Because he was doing things with his hands against you, or verbally. You don't really want to go into details about that. Don't give that information, because unfortunately, I think a lot of people, they want to be good people. They want to strive to treat others with respect. But there's just something that happens when you start telling people things that you went through, put up with, even if you didn't put up with it, something that happens to you, that makes them kind of want to do those things. They will think to themselves, well, this person was putting their hands on her, and she explained that she stayed for like 5 months. So eventually, hey, if they put their hands on her, I'm a pretty good guy. Like if I just raise my voice, it's not a big deal. Or, if I know eventually if I put my hands on her, it'll be okay. No big deal. I can take my frustrations out on her. You don't really want to give those information. I know a lot of times women, we want to reveal stuff. We want to talk. We want to communicate. But there are certain things you don't need to reveal. I always tell people, if you're feeling like you want to like word vomit all over the place and explain all your past, you need to go to God. God is your best friend. That's who you go to. And people think, no, the persons that I'm with, my partner there, are my best friend. Best friend or not, you don't have to reveal everything. I don't think there's not anybody that I tell every single thought that I have in my mind to. Not my husband, not my mom, not my sister. The only person I could probably tell every thought that I have is God. And that's the way it's supposed to be. You need to use wisdom. And when you're finding a partner, it's not for you to just reveal everything about your life. It's for you to find someone you have a mutual purpose with and you want to move forward with. So that is the second thing you want to not be too revealing about, your past relationships. The first one, as I said, is like your current career. Another thing you want to be mindful about revealing is past history with your family. So if you have had a bad relationship with your parents, you don't really want to go into too much depth about that. Even if let's say the person has 2 parents that they're close to and that are still together, still married, they are, even though they're going to act understanding, they may be looking at you a certain way. They're going to think something is wrong with you, or they're going to say, oh, you don't come from a good family. Even if the person did not come from a 2-parent, a functional, good household, they still may be looking at you a certain way. Nowadays, with all these things that are being spewed, from red pill content to just talking about people who don't have fathers. First of all, studies have shown, case studies, statistics have shown that actually not having a father affects males more than it does women, but that's besides the point. They may have come across content that says, oh, okay, this person didn't have this particular parent, the woman or the male figure in their life, and for whatever reason, this is the way they act, the way that they have unhealed trauma. If you do have unhealed trauma, you should definitely seek coaching or seek some sort of therapy. But that's something you want to avoid. Don't want to go into detail about all of your past traumas with your family. And of course, it's not hiding anything, because with time, you have to be wise, right? With time, things will come out. You want them to be able to get to know your parent. Let's say that parent is in your life, but you guys don't have a good relationship. You want them to get to know those people. You don't have to go into depth about everything that happened to you in your childhood and in your family life, which parents in your life, which parents not. Eventually, over time, you'll explain that information. And eventually, even when you're married, you can, reveal things little by little if you feel the need to. But, if you're on good terms with that parent or parents, a lot of times it's not going to be necessary to reveal anything about them. Let the individual get to know them on their own. But backtrack to before marriage, you don't want to start going into depth about things like that. Of course, if you don't have that parent, yes. Okay, let me cut this short. Let me try to get through this. So I went through those. Sounds like my baby needs me soon, even though my baby did just eat before I did this video. But yeah, so happy. Anyway, so outside of that, so those are the three things. First thing, don't reveal too much about your career. This is for men who are watching this. I'm not talking about every man. A good man is going to understand why you don't reveal these things. And maybe in the future I can talk about what a man shouldn't reveal, but I'm talking from the women's perspective. So one of the things I did when I was dating, getting to know people, and things I did not do. So the first thing is about your career. Don't reveal too much information. Be general about what you do. If it's something that's related to customer service, say that. If it's healthcare, don't go too in depth. I think those are the main things you can use. Work in healthcare or work in customer service, and then just go into depth and start saying, yeah, I really love this. I love dealing with clients. And then what about you? Do you like your job? That's kind of switching the subject. And then the second one is not revealing much about relationships that you've had, bad relationships, and just in general. And then third is not revealing much about any past family issues and trauma, because they may look at you negatively, even though you think that they're so loving and caring and understanding, but that may not be the case. And then, what else? Yeah, those are the main ones I would say. Those are the three things that you should really be mindful of what you're revealing. And also, what else? Yeah, don't go into depth about, oh, here's a good one. Here's number 4, your assets. Don't start going into depth about stuff. If you own a house, do not talk about how you own a home. I would honestly let the person think that you rent. Don't say that you rent, because I'm not for making up stories, but don't divulge information about you owning a home. That's number 4. Don't go into depth about those types of things. If there's anything else, I'll put a part 3 in if anything else comes to mind. But those are the 4 things. First one, don't reveal much about your job, especially if it's a high-paying career. Focus on them and what they do. See how they like their career. Second, don't reveal much about any past issues in relationships or your relationships in general. Focus on the present. Third is going to be, don't give details about your issues with your family and things like that, things that you have gone through. And then finally, number 4 is don't reveal information about your assets. For example, if you have a home, there are men who will try to use you for those assets. They will start looking at that as a bonus to being with you.